Well, I just want to thank you both so much for coming. This lecture is part of a project ongoing at Venice in Venice called Non-Extractive Architecture, where we are researching case studies around the topic of more than sustainability. I think it's a broader look at architecture that doesn't deplete the planet, but also doesn't harm the people working, looks to new labor practices, economic platforms and materials towards making a non-extractive architecture. And to do this, we're inviting guests every week, like yourselves, to come and share with us their ideas around this topic. So we're really excited to have you both. I will just briefly introduce a sort of shortened biography of both of you. So Kozo Kadowaki is an architect and architectural theorist with a Ph.D. in building systems design. He teaches at Meiji University and Tokyo University of the Arts and practices architecture with his firm associates. He is the curator of the Japan Pavilion at the 17th Venice Architecture Biennale, which was held this year. And Ryoko Iwase is the president of Studio Iwase and an assistant professor, Graduate School of Engineering at Kyoto University. Her practice covers multiple areas from architectural spaces to public works infrastructure and public space design. So we're so happy to have you both here, and I think your work really speaks. We were so into the work that we're also developing at Venice. We were so inspired by the pavilion this year, the Japan Pavilion, and the research residents that are joining us also in Venice will, I'm sure, have some ideas and questions following your lecture. So we look forward. Thank you so much. And now I'll leave it over to you.
Thank you.
So thank you for introducing us. I'm Kozo Kadowaki, an architect. And today, together with my friend Ryoko, I'd like to share with you the story of an epic journey experienced by a certain house. And please note that Schemata Architects is our collaborators office. We don't belong to the Schemata Architects.
Okay. This was a misunderstanding.
Our own office.
Okay. I apologize. We'll correct this in the communication going forward.
Okay, please. And I'd like to share my screen. Just a moment. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to share the story of the journey of our house today. And the title of our exhibition is Co-Ownership of Action, Trajectories of Elements. I will talk about this meaning after that. And this is a really shocking picture for us. Heavy machinery is destroying the buildings. But however, such scenes are not rare in Japan. This is the picture in Japan. And you can see the wooden buildings. Maybe this is the houses. And I live in Tokyo. And when I walk around my neighborhood, I always see several demolition sites like this. And this chart shows the annual amount of industrial waste generated in Japan by industry type. And you can see the pink area. This is the construction industry. And the construction industry amounts for 20% of the total, producing more than 75 million tons of waste in Japan. And this fact is due to Japan's inability to stop, scrap, and build. And in particular, houses are often used by only one generation and then thrown away. It is because the really huge amount of the waste are produced from construction industry. And this is another graph. The pink broken line in this graph shows the percentage of the vacant houses in Japan. And the blue bar graph shows the number of houses built per year. And talking about Japan's population, the population has been declining for the past 15 years. So the number of vacant houses is increasing rapidly. In spite of this, more than 800,000 houses are still being built annually. So recently, there has been a paradox. The number of vacant houses is increasing, but the number of houses being constructed is also increasing. So as a result, Japan is filled with a large amount of housing. And some of these houses are considered to be demolished. It's really a big program for our society. And so we decided to think about this problem through our current exhibition at the Venice Biennale. And diverse team of architects, designers, researchers, and editors have taken on this challenge of this exhibit. And you can see this nice guy. He is John Nagasaka, whose office is Schemata Architects. And of course, as you know, the Venice Biennale is a large-scale international exhibition that takes over the whole city of Venice. And of course, you know, a feature of the Venice Biennale is that there is an exhibition for each country. And Japan also has its own pavilion in Giardini, and where the exhibition will be held. And the idea of us was to get a house that was being demolished, and we dismantle it and transport it to Venice and reconstruct it in Venice. So the house that was about to be waste. And our challenge was to restore its value of the waste. And these pictures were taken in Venice by the architect we worked with, John Nagasaka. And to him, the red and white striped tape looked very cool. But maybe they are very common and usual things for Venetian people. But sometimes things that are common to people in Venice look like something unusual to tourists from far away. And this, we thought, could be a clue for us. If moving one house farther away could lead to a revival of a value of the house. So maybe the Venetian people, European people will be interested in our traditional house, which are to be waste. And this lovely house is in Tokyo is what we transported to Venice. And Ryoko will explain the process from here. Ryoko, please.
Okay. Hello. Now I'm going to introduce the process of the project. And we call this house as Takamizawa House in honor of its owner. It was a row house consisting of 3 houses attached to each other with this storefront at front. Yeah. And which is this portion, green one. Can you switch the slide?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, this is a portion. And from inside of the store portion. And by the demolition, we found layer of wall finishes from different times like this. And this recent wallpaper was actually handmade by Takamizawa family. They attached these tiny little patterns on the white paper one by one. Can you imagine? It's so cute and full of their ideas. And interior of the house. And it's a kitchen. And you can see this text and maybe switch the slide. And this is a kitchen. And you can see this text and marking on the wall here. The Takamizawa family had a family rule recording children heights on the wall year by year. It's such a nice memory of the happy family events. And you could find those kind of traces of their lives everywhere in this house. And this is a bathroom and entrance. It's coming. And second floor of the oldest section of the house. And this is a typical partition doors in Japan, made of wood and paper, and it was deteriorating, but you could also see that it had been partially repaired by Mr. Takamizawa and his family with a favorite poster and pictures. Yeah. And another second floor. It was the second oldest section of the house. And newest section of the house, this is, in which Mr. Takamizawa have lived up to right before the demolition, this part. And this is the interior of it. And interior, next interior of it also, it was just like a house in Tokyo and a lot of full of things. And here we started the demolition. Like this. Another picture from demolition also. And in the demolition, we cut out many samples here and there like this for us to use while design studies. And cut ceilings. And after a while, the wooden framework appears like this. And if we lose the information of the portion of the components after the demolition, we would not be able to assemble them in Venice. So we decided to put stickers with printed IDs on every component, and sticker also attached to a pillar and component like this. And like this, we put sticker on every member. And however, the sticker sometimes did not stay in position well, and those stickers got stuck unexpected places. Like this, he's Mr. Takamizawa, the owner of the house. In this case, we lose information about the components, but rather than being too crazy about the precision of the tagging, we had a lot of discussion to somehow reinterpret the loss of information as a trigger of creative action of design, which we will talk more about later. We enjoyed it in a way. And here are the wooden structure seen from the store side. From the south, it's coming. Yeah, this is from the south. And newest section also from the south. And sometimes some components, such as one by wet construction, got broken and lost. And also its portions like mud wall could not be exported anyway for quarantine reasons. And of course, the house could not be demolished all at once with heavy machinery. So the demolition had to be carefully done one by hand. In parallel, surveys by historians were also conducted. As a result, we found that Takamizawa House had changed drastically since it was originally built. And as you can see, Takamizawa House was built in 1954 and was originally a single-story house, as in this picture. You can see it very different. Here is a picture from the historical survey. This figure shows the changes in appearance and plans estimated from the survey. It's coming, right? Yeah, this is the figure. Yeah, changes from single story to bigger, to become bigger. The area around Takamizawa House has also changed drastically. The black dot represents the location of the Takamizawa House, and the gray area represents the populated urban area. You can see that initially located on the edge of the urban area, soon Takamizawa House had been absorbed with the urban area around the 1960s. A lot of old objects, tools, utensils were also found in the house. These are old scissors that were used in a barber shop that opened in 1954 and soon closed down, unfortunately. Yeah. And this is a door that had been closed when the extension was conducted. Yeah. And also this window had been covered when the extension and found from inside of the wall while demolishing this time. So it was so surprising, unexpected. And ceremonial objects celebrating the assembly of the structure and thanking God as a traditional Japanese ceremony had also been kept above the ceiling up to now. And this is all the signatures, signage. And surprisingly enough, this is a jigsaw puzzle also was found from the inside of the wall during the demolition. This is Takamizawa-san's, yeah. And demolition finished. And it's coming, no? And yeah, the dismantled components were taken to a rented warehouse for closer inspection and organizing them for their transportation to Venice. The warehouse got filled up very quickly, and it was much harder to handle them than we imagined. As for the major structure components, we also did 3D scanning of them here by making some custom jigs. And then we carried them out from the warehouse one by one very carefully. The next step is finally the customs formalities and packing them into crate like this and loading them into containers. And then they left Tokyo Bay. And this was in February 2020. And right after that, the pandemic happened, and Takamizawa House had been stuck in the port of Venice for a long time. And it was the end of May 2020 when Takamizawa House in Venice started to move again, at least up to the Venice Biennale site. And this is a picture of carrying the components in Giardini and carrying into Japanese Pavilion. They had to be waiting there for the construction works to get started in 2021, as you know, after the society more or less figured out how to deal with the pandemic. And now I'm gonna move on to the exhibition part. But before that, I need to emphasize that for us, the entire process of this transportation was a very important part of the project. And we did quite careful recording of the process as a project output. Okay, let's move on to the exhibition part. This is a P.H.D picture, right? This used to be workshop. Okay, let's move to next picture. Yeah, this is the process of the construction, which was conducted by Zoom, and unexpectedly, like we did a Zoom, and we couldn't go there for construction. So we communicating with carpenters there and checking live camera here, and opened in May 2024. Finally, it was so happy that it was open. Okay, let's move on to the exhibition part. The Japanese Pavilion is architecture with Ph.D and garden, as you know, maybe, and which is in a big public park called Giardini, we already know. And where other countries' pavilion are also located next to each other. In our plan, the interior space of the pavilion is allocated to storage and a Ph.D to workshop space. And a series of work upcycled with Takamizawa House components are now exhibited in the garden and blurring boundaries. And this is a pavilion, and Ph.D underneath and garden in front. Here is the approach to the entrance. Let's make a tour. Firstly, you can find some upcycled work in the garden. This one used to be Takamizawa House roof, and now we redesigned into a huge bench and also functioning as a best place to see the green screen in the back. To reconstruct this part of the house, of course, some components are lost during the demolition process. And our team decided to enjoy this loss as an opportunity for new creation. The lost surface of the roof is now replaced by soft materials. And this allows visitors to relax on the roof and people lay down like this and very relaxing, like this. And we put a small table, and this supported also various activities. And most surprising one might be this. This visitor made a tea ceremony here, very surprising. And we found it in Instagram. And you can see the inside of the structure of the roof, which were not seen originally. And then it has got to be a hot spot. Yeah, next work I introduce. This work is a kind of reconstruction of shop front of Takamizawa House. Maybe you remember the green facade on the corner, right? This is the one. And this was a very thin billboard of shop in Tokyo, and now it invited visitors to the garden and Japanese Pavilion in Venice now. And here as well, the mortar facade is lost and now replaced into the light mesh fabric with green color. This is chosen in anticipation of cheap transportation via hand luggage. And inside facade screen swings with the light and wind and merges into the new environment. Okay, I introduced the third work, the old facade. this wall is used to be south facade of Takamizawa House. Most of the finishes of the wall, including red corrugated sheet, got broken and went demolition and lost. And so the lost portion have been replaced with transparent materials. You can also see the red mesh materials, which are the prints of 3D scanned data of the interior of the house right before the demolition. This is the toilet and things. And now let's enter the storage space. The components and photo of the house are exhibited chronologically. And you can find QR code stickers like this. And if you scan this, and they show you where each component used to be located in the house, like this, with iPhones. And some of the photos were given by Mr. Takamizawa, the owner of the house. And it starts from the construction site just after World War II. They include the memory of the owner, and you can find a lot of unique components. For instance, the sliding door has cute posters, as already mentioned, and some of them are broken and have a lot of holes. Yeah, a lot of materials and components. And their uniqueness helps you to feel the history of the house and the memory and emotion of the family at the same time, I hope. Yeah. Now let's move on to the pilotis, passing through the backside of the pavilion. Here is a workshop space, the place of production. Yeah, it's a rest space for all of us. And equipment and furniture for the workshop are provided by using old beams and pillars of the house. And this workshop supports one of our important concepts as ever-changing exhibition like Takamizawa House. During the exhibition period of 6 months, we kept producing. This is the picture that when we visited Venice, and we made a lot of furnitures in collaborating with Italian artisans. Finally, this summer, we managed to travel there and we did a lot of work. And this is also the team member from our team member. And making high stool. This is a schemata architect designed. And this tool is composed with this transparent material, also used for the wall I already explained. So kind of we are mixing new material and old material together in a product. And this is actually the stool I designed. This is made by the toilet floor of vinyl material. I found its pattern is so cute, and yeah, and it's now sold out, and many people bought it, spreading in the world. And this cute material got hot within us, and this product sold out so quickly. This is something cute. And even the leftovers became souvenir for visitors. Now Takamizawa House are spreading worldwide physically and digitally via Instagram too. And yeah, this small house, private one, has got an opportunity to create a variety of collaborations across time and space. Now I'm gonna pass the baton back to Kozo
Okay, thank you, Yoko. We are really happy that we have seen such really lovely pictures in Instagram, on Twitters, and many internet medias. But the journey of this house does not end in Venice. After the closing of the Biennale, the house will go to Oslo, Norway. We did not want to leave the house in Venice after the exhibition because it makes the house into waste again. So in this Biennale, we had the opportunities to have online discussions with curators from different countries. This is the picture of the Zoom discussions from with the curators from all over the world. And one of them, a Norwegian curator at the Philippine Pavilion, offered us the chance to transport the house to Oslo. And this house, Takamizawa House, is heading for a corner of a housing complex in the suburbs of Oslo. And in there was a very beautiful greenhouse there. But unfortunately, however, it is now used as a warehouse and it's not well used. And our project is in progress to add elements of the Takamizawa House to this warehouse and to create a new place for the communities. And the project is to be completed next year. So we see the really the big epic journey of this house. And this diagram represents the life of this house. And this is the new reconstruction in 1954 and the exhibition in Venice. And after it will go into Oslo. And the house has really experienced a great deal of time and spatial movement. And as you see, when it was newly built in 1954, it was just a house for one family. But soon, the family grew and the house had many additions. And in 2019, the house met the architects us and who challenged it for this exhibition. And after that, this house dismantled. And after that, it was assembled by artisans in Venice and met with many people from all over the world as visitors. And some of it will go to Oslo, as I mentioned, to become a community facility. And as Ryoko mentioned, some will be turned into furnitures and spread all over the world. So we already know about the long journey that this house went through. And in addition, there are many meetings with different people, like visitors, or like Italian artisans, or the Norwegian curators. So then maybe this house is not something that I can own or the Takamizawa-san can own. It's a really kind of common property that has passed through the hands of many people. Once we were awakened to this kind of feeling, you will see all buildings as common property of society. So if that happens, we probably won't be able to abandon or throw away that building lightly. And this is a picture you have also seen. In front of the Japan Pavilion, there was a message that said, it is absurd to claim that our actions belong solely to ourselves. So it means we are living in a network of actions. And this is the very important message for us. We want to share in this exhibition with you. So that is a short conclusion of my talk. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's just such a beautiful story and a really fantastic project. I think it really resonates with us, and thank you so much for sharing it. For those of you that are joining us online, feel free to add any questions in the Q&A tab that you might have, and you can participate in the conversation. One thing to note, if you did join us late, is that there was a mistake in the communication of the lecture. Although Schemata Architects was involved in this project, the Kozo and Ryoko, who presented today, Ryoko has her own office called Studio Iwase, and Kozo, his studio is called Associates. So I apologize for this, and we will amend this in the communication.
No problem.
But thank you so much for the lecture. It was really fantastic. Maybe the research residents have some first thoughts or ideas.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think this was one of my favorite pavilions to visit, so it was really nice to see a little bit more of the work. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about the stickers and the elements, because I understand you had the QR codes to kind of place the elements in the house, but what other information did you have about the material or the level of conservation or something like that?
Yuki, can you explain it? These keywords called stickers are originally used to manage the information of the materials, especially the location of the material, where the component was located in the house, because we have to reconstruct in Venice. And after that, we reuse the QR code for our exhibition. So the QR code includes new information like just a moment, like this picture, the axonometric diagram of the house, and some QR code sticker has the more information like a three-dimensional object. How do I say? 3D models of the components, and the explanation movie of the component by the historian, and etc. etc. And that, as I said, these informations were added for the exhibition. Ryoko, Ryoko, you should add something. Ryoko is freezing now.
I think she's frozen.
Okay.
Can I ask you if do you imagine like in the future of architecture to implement this system of coding and understanding the position and the story of elements that you did for an exhibition, but how you imagine that this could be implemented in the world of architecture, in the process, let's say.
Talking about Japanese situation, for architects, the mainly work of architects are new construction for Japanese people a long time. So maybe you know many Japanese architects work like a new house, new small houses in Tokyo. But nowadays our society is changing because the population is declining, and also the economical situation is declining. So the mainly work of the young architects are now changing from the newly construction into renovation or refurbishment or something. And through such a renovation project, we Japanese finally realized at last our work is not only our work. Our work is like a collaboration with the past architect or past artisans or past people. So we thought this is very clue or key for us I know. So this is like a very collaboration work between the present and past people. And this is really like how do I say, co-working or co-designing like this. And the young architects, I think young architects feeling a new possibility of design to this to such collaborating working nowadays. So this is a very our notice of the Japanese people, but I think there is some hint or clue for the new design of the future architects, I think. So Ryoko, do you add something?
Yeah. Since my network was not so good and I was maybe missing some part, but to add your part, I was also kind of having question to Italy people because in Japan, we have a culture of scrap and build and making a lot of new architecture. But on the other side, recently, we started to have a feeling that our renovation project is also very important for us. But this kind of differences, maybe this is kind of different situation to Italian people because Italian people or European people has a lot of buildings which long and last for a long time. So it's kind of for you guys it's a very basic idea, the renovation or of project is important, and also sharing the time and space is very basic idea for architecture. So this might be a little bit different from our feeling to European people.
Thank you.
One thing I was thinking about in a lot of the previous lectures we've had, guests have talked about how waste is categorized and therefore then not being allowed to be used, especially construction waste, and not being allowed to be reused just based on the title it's given when it becomes waste. And I was wondering how you dealt with that. In Japan, is there this sort of naming of elements called waste or artworks or architecture, and that then therefore describes
Stopped.
Yes.
It's not.
Like our colleague that is joining from another place is raising the hand, but we're trying to have it to let it speak.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Hey, Pablo.
Hey, hi, Davide. Thank you so much for the lecture. It was really nice to see this process, and my question is related to that, to the process. Usually in architecture, I think we think of the final product as the most relevant one and what we see. But when you were talking about this project as itself, the process was more relevant than the actual like physical manifestation. So I don't know if you can talk about the like the conception of this at the beginning.
Yoko, can you understand?
Can you repeat the last part? A little bit
please.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna take my mask off because maybe that's clearer.
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
like you,
we are not good at speaking English.
no, no worries. That you mentioned that the process and really taking the house all the way from Japan to Italy was a process of documentation and a process of care. So I was wondering if this was like intentional from the beginning, like the process is much more important than the actual final result, or was it just during the on the go? I don't know if it was intentional or not. That's my question.
Yeah, and actually it was intended from the beginning. We were selected as a team for this pavilion after competition. And when we are thinking of the plan of the exhibition, we were doubting like what to exhibit in Italy because it's so far away, and checking the last years of exhibition, the travel fee or traveling cost is kind of ignored. But for us, it was such a big deal. I mean, we didn't like to ignore this fact that we transport a lot of things and a lot of people, and this is the fact of the exhibition. So we found, we emphasized at the beginning, this is kind of documentation and experiment. The project, it's not only a physical exhibition, it's not the exhibition of our project. So we preferred this idea.
Yes, and I'd like to add some comment. For me, it is really a surprising or discovery that this private-owned house became in like a public facilities or a public something. Ryoko designed a really cute stool, but maybe I'd like to share the screen. Ryoko designed this really cute stool, but we can feel this stool is not owned by somebody. We know this stool has the a very long trajectory, and you know this stool was originally in a house, and there is a resident who I don't know, but you can feel the shadow of the people who lived in the past or who live in really long countries. So I think it is really important for this design trajectory. It is because this sense of feeling makes the public feeling to this furniture, I think. So that trajectory or the history is really important for us to design the new furniture or new facilities.
Great. I am sorry I got, Pablo says, thank you so much. I got cut off before, but maybe someone already asked the question, but I was curious about how to name the materials when moving them to places to avoid the categorization of waste, and how you went about that. Because often when a building is demolished, it's called waste, and then you can't reuse, or it becomes very difficult to reuse the material.
So your question is that how we name the components before,
or how were you able to reuse the house to get in before it was categorized as a waste material?
Yeah, I think for my feeling, the category is very relative. For us, for example, I have a pet bottle now here, you can see. And after we drank up all the waters, this became a waste. But this is really, I think, it looks like a new product. So for somebody, it is difficult to say it is a waste. So I think it is a everything. It can say to everything. From the for the residents, the old house is waste. But sometimes for some people, the waste house is not a waste. Like really the materials of the new product or something which can renovate it into the great house. So I think the category is relative, and the designer can change the categories by designing or add a small design to the waste or to the house and change the recognition of the people, and they can change the category, I think.
And maybe you also asked the how we choose the material which we shipped, right? Is it
Okay.
correct? Also, your
yeah,
question is related
interested.
to that.
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood.
No. I think we can answer the comments.
You were both right. Both.
Yeah.
I wanted to know about both. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I think for that thing, we decided simple manifest first that we don't carry waste. We don't carry the garbage. But on the other side, it was so difficult, but because we didn't know what to design, what to build. We were not sure because the schedule was tight. So we did work on the selection of the product to ship, and also like we had to work on what to design and what to build in Venice. So it was so hard to decide. But the basic idea was we select and ship the structural material which is gonna be used anyway. And the other part, each architect choose what kind of material they might use in the Venice. And the other part was a research part, each unique part to represent the history of the Takamizawa House was being chosen, even it was not used for the designer's work. This is main idea of that.
Great. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time, and if no one has any other questions, maybe we can always continue the conversation in emails as the work around the book of the second volume of the book Non-Extractive Architecture continues. We'll definitely be in touch to include your project in some way in this book. But we're so excited to have you as part of this lecture series, and I just want to thank you so much for your time.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. Bye.
You too.